Hey, what's up, everybody? Jay Pounds here. Got you another weekly rebuild video and article if you're into reading the articles. This week, we're going to be talking about the things that most owners overlook when they're rebuilding. And these are going to seem like some of them obviously will seem like simple, very obvious things. And it's things that I've forgotten plenty of times in the past. I'm sure all of you have as well. And they're just things that are naturally easy to overlook and not think about, especially when you're getting as in depth as Dynasty Owner will take you. As you guys have all, unless you're a new user, as you've all figured out, this is a lot of strategy that's involved here. So it's far away from normal fantasy or even normal Dynasty, but there are a lot of things that go into it, especially when you're rebuilding. As far as the salary cap, managing the new contracts that are coming up, and usually the ones that you want to keep are the big ones. So there's just a lot of different things that can go into it. I want to just say, if you guys are enjoyed this last season and you're excited for this upcoming off season, this is a great time to kind of tell some friends about it and tell them to get looking into it. That way they got plenty of time to prepare. They can kind of see how our rookie drafts play out before they do a startup. There should be plenty of mock startups. I'm sure all of us, well, most of us at least, that are in leagues already are gonna want to join new leagues, and we'll be doing plenty of mocks for them to reference and things like that. So now's a great time, to get a friend in here and just kind of get them acclimated to Dynasty Owner a little bit, and give them a little bit of an edge on the playing field, because Lord knows in this format sometimes you could probably use it. Let's get right into this video here. The first topic I want to talk about are the different ways you can prepare for your rookie draft. And again, this might seem obvious to most, preparing for a rookie draft, read your mock drafts, things of that nature, but it is a little different here in Dynasty Owner. So if you're one of the fortunate ones that have a later draft, definitely reference the drafts that happened before you, because that's more than likely how yours will play out. I'm not positive yet on how the majority is going to feel on, like rookie quarterbacks. Are we gonna treat this like a super flex? Is this gonna be a more traditional rookie draft in a one quarterback league to where the quarterbacks aren't going till later in the first? I highly doubt it. I feel like this is going to be more geared towards super flex, if not completely like a super flex. So I feel like, that's just kind of things you want to take in consideration. The first thing I want to talk about on ways to prepare is just don't go into your draft blind and take the best player available. If you got the number one pick overall, don't just put your fist down and say Trevor Lawrence, that's it. If you're picking number one overall, chances are you have quite a few holes in your roster, and chances are you could use more than one first round talent coming up, that as a building blocks. You don't just want to have one building block going into 2022, or in 2021, and then heading into the offseason 2022, you don't want to just have Trevor Lawrence and no one else, and be stuck trying to build with him. And by the time he's getting his second deal, you're just now getting ready to win. And you got to cut some players so you can afford him. You just don't want to get into that situation. And it's just not a fun one to be in. And what I mean by that, like I said, if you have holes everywhere, one player isn't going to win you a lot of games during this season. If nobody's there at the number one pick, and that you're not in love with, if you have to take Trevor Lawrence, obviously do it. Or if you're in love with, Trey Lance or Justin Fields or Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts or whoever, if you're absolutely in love with them and you just have to take them, maybe you're a Gators fan and want Pitts, then okay, whatever. But other than that, try to trade back a little bit. If you can turn the first overall pick into the third and maybe the fifth, or the third, a second rounder, and a next year's first rounder, great, do that, because then you just almost doubled your picks, if not more. Now you got two first rounders. Yeah, you move back two slots, but you're still going to get a quality player there. Don't trade back from 1 to 12 or 1 to 10 or something like that. Target that 3 3 to 5, 3 to 6 range, 7 at the latest. At the absolutely, I wouldn't even go 7. I'd say 6 at the latest. But you target those picks, 2 to 6, and if you can get one of those plus an additional first, then all right, great, do that. Sorry, I kind of lost my spot there. Do some research before your draft on where your players are basically projected to go. If Jamar Chase is going to go number 2, he's went number 2 overall in 95% of dynasty owner drafts. You can count on him going number 2. So if you're really wanting Jamar Chase and you have, let's say you're one of these owners with the first, second, third, and fourth pick, you traded to get all that. Why not trade the third and fourth if you're really only in love with Jamar Chase, and then turn that third and fourth into like an 8th and 10th and a couple seconds or something like that? Just wheel and deal and make your team deeper throughout the draft by trading down a little bit if there's players that you really like in those spots. And your trade partner, if you can find a trade partner, I would target, like I said, target them middle picks. But if you happen to not be able to find a trade partner, let's say, you've sent 45 trades out and you just can't find one anywhere. Well, then you just take the best player available, like I told you not to a couple minutes ago. But you take him anyway, and then, 2-3 months down the road, when he's balling out, don't get attached. Trade him. Let's say you grab Justin Jefferson this last year with intentions of trading him sometime next season. You had full intentions of trading him, right? Okay, so you take Justin Jefferson, let's say 7th overall, full intentions on trading him. He blows up like he does. You get a little attached. You don't want to trade him, but you get an offer for like 3 first rounds, a second, and another player thrown on or something like that. Obviously, you do it. You just turn the 7th overall pick into 3 first, this, and that was already your plan to begin with. So if you have to get stuck taking one guy and it's not going to make a world of difference on your roster, yeah, it's going to be a great player at that position, at your one starter spot. But if you're going to be stuck with just that, then plan to trade them when they blow up. Pick your favorite one that you're sure is going to blow up, and then when they do, you trade them. And when you trade them, you get a nice return. The next topic I want to touch on here is, do you have enough quality young depth? And the key word there is quality. You don't need, just because you got a 22-year-old Malcolm Perry on your roster doesn't mean you have quality young depth. Yeah, if 10 injuries happen, he's going to see some playing time. But you want to carry guys like an Eno Benjamin, somebody that now Drake just had a rough year. He's probably going to be gone. So now it's Chase Edmonds and Eno Benjamin. That's a true quality young player right there, because he is one injury away from getting on the field, and we see injuries happen nonstop here in the NFL. Another way to kind of assure yourself a quality young depth, and I kind of just hit on it right there, you'll notice, is I think handcuffing in Dynasty Owner is almost an absolute must. I'm going to start targeting this on my team every way I possibly can the next couple of seasons and see how it plays out. But I feel like, if you're the Dalvin Cook owner, why in the world would you not have Alexander Mattison on your roster? If you can have Alexander Mattison and Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison's cheap. I believe he's under $1 million, if not just a little bit over. But you are basically getting the entire Vikings backfield for the same price as Dalvin Cook. It's not costing you much more at all. So why wouldn't you do that in this sense? Because if Dalvin Cook were to go down, now you have to trade for somebody, and you're going to spend a bunch of draft capital. Your salary is going to go up more than likely, because you have to keep Dalvin Cook at the same time. You're not just going to trade him because he got hurt. So now your salary is going to go up regardless of who. Even if you get James Robinson, you still just went up, a little bit, but more than likely you're going to go up a couple more $1 million. So it's just not, it's not worth it not to have the handcuff. And I'm starting to realize that, just anywhere there's a clear-cut backup for a player you have, you grab them. and grab them quickly. You know, it's not something that's going to cost you a lot year in and year out. Usually these guys are on very cheap deals or 1-year deals, and you can kind of rotate them as the years go, you know, and then play the free agent game. You know, if somebody gets cut or something like that, then you pick up the other guy. You know, if Madison were to get cut, pick up Mike Boone, you know, things like that. The other thing, you know, like I said, if they get hurt, you just don't miss much production, and you don't have to trade anything away. You're not losing anything. You're not shipping anything away. You know, it's just a win-win situation there if you have that handcuff, and it even kind of works with wide receivers if you think about it. You know, not as much obviously because you have 3 or 4 receivers that are on the field usually at all times. So usually if the number 1 guy goes up, the 2 and 3 step up a little bit more, and usually those guys are rostered, especially in this dynasty owner format. You know, in any dynasty format, really, you're going to get the 3rd guy is almost always rostered somewhere. So that's a little bit harder, but you can even do it like, you know, when Russell Gage when Julio Jones went down this year and Russell Gage stepped in. You know, things like that. Somebody is going to get an uptick in production. You just got to know who. And do your research and you know, follow the beat writers and things like that. There's plenty of apps that'll they'll send you notifications as soon as things happen. You know, you can get it basically the same time Schefter gets it. As I said, you know, you're not going up in salary and things like that. Again, just because someone's young, it doesn't mean they're quality young depth. You know, like I said, you don't want 14 Malcolm Perrys on your bench that are never going to see a field. You know, an Eno Benjamin, a Jeff Wilson, a Preston Williams a couple years ago. Guys like that are great players to have. And the last thing I want to touch on quality depth here is target the injury-prone players' handcuffs. You know, Will Fuller, we knew this guy was injury-prone year in, year out. He had a healthy year this year, but he did get suspended. So you still you still would have ended up using them handcuffs. But granted, he only got suspended. He didn't get hurt. It still worked out. You know, imagine if you planned on it and had a Kiki Kuti or Chad Hansen on your roster when Will Fuller got suspended for playoff time. You're just as smitten as you could be. You know, there's nobody happier than you with that. It worked out perfect, and that's something I'm going to target too. You know, like maybe Saquon Barkley, he's been hurt a few times now. You know, if Todd Gurley somehow gets another chance, I'll definitely be targeting his backup. You know, things like that. Those are little tiny things that people are going to overlook that are going to help you out in the long run. The last thing I want to talk about today is how much draft capital is too much, and this is something I see a lot, and it's going to be a lot of differing opinions. Trust me, nobody's going to be right on this, and you are going to see a lot of people that think differently than probably I do. I see constantly, I got the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all the way to the 10th pick, you know, and 2 of them aren't mine. 1 through 12, I don't own 2 of them, but the other 10 are mine. To me, that's just risky. You know, I guess that's the word I'm looking for here, is risky. What if that's a bad draft class? Yeah, you're probably always going to hit on 2 or 3 of them, but is 2 or 3 out of 7 what you're looking for on 1st-round draft picks in Dynasty football? No. Especially here on Dynasty Owner, where the salary cap is a huge factor and rookies make your team go. You can't have a full team of veterans. You're going to be over the cap in a very quick hurry. You have to have rookies and producing rookies here on Dynasty Owner to win championships. Promise you that. It'll never change. You're just always going to have them. And in order to get them 10 picks in the 1st round, imagine what that owner gave up to get those 10 picks. So now not only are you only going to hit on 2 or 3 of them more than likely, and maybe, 2 or 3 more might be average players for their career, you still just gave up all of that to get 6 players, and 3 of them are only average at best. So it's, to me, that just the pros and the cons of that whole situation Um, that it just doesn't add up to me. To me, the sweet spot here would be like 3 players each round. If you can target your favorite 3 guys that you're just sure gonna hit, that seems like a very reasonable sweet spot to me, that you have very high chances of succeeding if you do your research and you can recognize talent. If you're able to do that and you have 3 picks in each, per first round every year, you're going to have a loaded roster before long. If you're hitting on, let's say, 80% of those guys, you'd have 7-8 studs within 3 years. It's just, to me, it's a way more efficient way to go about it than having 6 or 7 picks in a round and potentially, just having too much of a risk and missing on those guys. One bad draft class and you just set your team back probably 5 years because you counted on one draft class. So to me, I'd say 3. Maybe you could probably get away with 4 per round, but I wouldn't go any higher than 4. I would say, if you have to, okay. If somebody's just giving away picks, then sure, do it. But don't intentionally go out and try to get 8 picks in the first round of the 2021 draft, because if it happens to be a bad draft class, you just screwed yourself royally. Like I said, you are going to hit on a couple of them. Don't get me wrong. You will get some talent out of that, but it's just not going to be really what you're expecting, honestly. And if you're one of those players right now that have too many draft picks and, you just didn't realize it, or if you just weren't thinking about it, or if when I just said it, you're like, holy crap, he's right. Wow, I'm only going to hit on 40% of these or 30% of these these picks. I need to get rid of some of them. What I recommend doing, and I feel like this is what anybody in this situation should do, just hold on to them for a little bit. And once rookie draft rolls around, before your draft, go through a bunch of different mock drafts for the rookie drafts and see where these guys that you like are going. Let's say you like Lawrence, Jamar Chase, and Kyle Pitts. Let's say those are your 3 favorite players in the draft. You're sure all 3 of them are going to hit. They happen to be at different positions. And the mock drafts are saying they're going to go 1, 3, and 7. And you got the first, let's say you got every pick in the first round except for 8, 9, and 12, something like that. So you're going to want to trade away all these picks that aren't 1, 3, and 7, because that's where your guys are more than likely going to go. Maybe you keep the 6 instead of the 7 to make sure you get Pitts, but you do know that's where your guys have been going in almost every draft. So why not, trade those guys away? And in this situation, you would want to get rid of, like, if you took let's say last year you wanted Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and they were going 3, 5, and 7. So you take the rest of your draft picks, you trade them away, and you try to find complementary pieces for those players that that you're taking, that you're planning on becoming studs. So rookie receivers tend to have a little bit of growing pains. So you want to go out and trade some of them picks for like Robert Woods, somebody that's extremely consistent and productive, week in, week out. You can guarantee on his production. That way, when one of them guys have a low week, Robert Woods is always there to hold you up. And then you target like a second running back for Jonathan Taylor, no matter who, whatever owner's willing to bite on it. Maybe you get like a James Robinson or someone like that, or I wouldn't recommend like a Devin Singletary or nothing, but maybe a David Montgomery for a draft pick or something. But find players that you think are going to fit well with these 3 players that you're targeting in this draft, and go after those guys, and then build your team around that. And more than likely, it's going to work out for you. Sometimes it won't, but more than likely, as long as you can recognize that talent, it will. Last thing I want to hit on real quick before we go, and I don't have a little bar for it, but is the recognizing the value of a draft pick. This might just seem unbelievably obvious, but it's something that that people tend to overlook quite a bit. And what I mean by that is, you get in a trade and you're focused on these star players or whoever you're trading for. You're all excited, and it's, oh yeah, throw your second in and we're good to go. Not thinking you're trading with the likely champion of your league or the number one contender in your league, and you really just got a third round pick instead of a second because you weren't thinking ahead, like, oh crap, this guy's going to be really good this year. He's probably going to win the league. And that pick's going to be basically a third. Or, if you're getting a late first, it's going to basically a second instead. So those are things you want to look at as you are trading. And it's as something that's extremely, extremely easy to overlook. And another thing is, always remember, as a rebuilding team, your picks are always worth more. So if you're holding on to, let's say you got 2 or 3 other teams' picks, when you're doing these trades, don't give them your pick because that pick's really likely to be a very high pick. Give them one of the other players, the owner's picks that the best, whichever team you feel like is going to be best next year, trade that pick first. Don't trade away your high picks. That just doesn't make sense. And it's obvious when you say it, but it's just something that some people don't think about when they're doing the trades because the trading process, you just get so caught up in it. And trading's a lot of fun, and it's easy to overlook little things like that. And like I said, if you're trading with the number one contender in your team, and he's offering you a first, don't look at it as a first. Look at it as a very early second, very late first. You don't want to be like, okay, this is a middle of the road first, no matter what. No, that's not how it works. I have a little value chart. Basically 1 to 3 is going to be your top tier studs and your highest value picks. 4 to 7, 4 to 8, roughly, is the value that just doesn't really change. It's your middle of the road teams, regardless of where they finish. It's going to be in the middle somewhere. So that value doesn't really go up or down with trades. And then you get the 9 through 12 area, which is, one of these 3 guys, 3 or 4 guys are going to win the championship, and it's going to be a really bad first round pick. Really, most of them are going to be a bad first round pick. Obviously there's still plenty of capable players in that spot, but it's nothing like the top end or the middle half of the first round. So you want to kind of look at your draft picks that way and value them that way, and factor that in when you're trading, and don't just throw draft picks in to throw them in. Make sure, like I said, if you got multiple owners' picks, make sure you're looking at which one you're throwing in. Don't just click on one to click on it and make the other guy happy and know he's going to accept the trade. Things like that. But other than that, guys, that's really about all I got for you this week. I'll be back at you next week with another rebuild article. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to comment on the YouTube video. Message me on Twitter, shout me out on Twitter, whatever you want to do. If you guys got any trades you want me to review, send them on over. I'll gladly put them in one of the videos. I'm trying to be as interactive with you guys as possible. So always feel free to reach out. You're not going to get ignored. I will communicate with you and help you with whatever is needed. As I feel the rest of the guys here, I can't speak for them, but I feel like the rest of the guys at Dynasty Owner are the same way. If you reach out to them on Twitter or something, they're going to respond. They'll try to help you in any way they can. But basically, that's about it, guys. Good luck on your 2021 Chase for the Ring. Make sure you guys are preparing for your rookie drafts and the free agency coming up, and you're looking at your contracts that are coming up, getting ready for your cuts and all that. And that's all I got, guys. We'll see you later.